vibration, titration, all this spiritual, heady, hippie stuff, and what is all this metaphysical wisdom going to have anything to do with your real life here in the real material world? And it's a good question. You don't want to waste too much of your time and energy digging into this stuff, because, you know, that's not, how's that going to help you out in these material things that you're having to face, or even on your spiritual journey? How does that help? Think about, remember the mountain of enlightenment I talk about. You know, we're all on this spiritual journey, this path, all climbing this same mountain. You know, from the bottom it looks like there's all these different paths, and how could any of these paths actually reach the same place? You know, it seems impossible. And then the more that you hike and walk up, the more perspective you get, the further you can see. You look back and realize all these paths are climbing to that same place. And you continue climbing and climbing and climbing, maybe fall off of one path, the one that had the guidebook that was lots of people have traveled, and you're cutting your own trail up this mountain for a long time, which is really difficult. And then maybe you find this other trail, and you keep climbing and realize they're all going to that same place, where once you get to the top, you can see every direction and down all the mountain and as far as there ever exists. So think about all that, and now think about all this metaphysical wisdom. You know, it's not a path. You can't just study this and gain spiritual enlightenment. You know, this is just knowledge and wisdom, some people could call it. Some people will call it nonsense. But, you know, this is helping you to understand the fabric and framework within which the mountain operates. You know, you still have to have a practice, a path, a journey. It could be your own thing. It doesn't have to be the one that's been practiced by millions of others or they have books about. It could be an amalgamation of all these different paths. You can hop around. You're still, as long as you're going up this mountain. And so all of this stuff, vibrations and phi and Fibonacci and the flow state and the ego and the film strip of consciousness of the river, of pouring through all this stuff that I go on and on about, you know, this helps you to understand how the mountain works, how the trails work, how, where if you're climbing up, cutting your own path, and you run into this cliff, how to understand, to recognize that cliff and maybe go around it. Maybe wait for the wind to be in your favor before you try to force your way through. Understanding when you can harness the flow of just energies of this mountain. So these are the, you know, all this metaphysical stuff, and you know, it's about understanding how the mountain operates, understanding the science behind the mountain, understanding the flows of the water and the rocks and the leaves and the trees, and so that as you're navigating your path, your practice, as you continue climbing this mountain, you're not blindsided by simple things that could be, you know, just understood in this kind of behind the scenes type way. You know, this is not going to bring you along a particular, you know, a spiritual path just by understanding this knowledge, but it can help you to be able to navigate your path, or to hop off the path and take the hot track up top.